this is Where Are the Chris Hansen Predators Today? So if you guys don't know, this is like the pizza predator. It was a really weird one. He brought pizza and the guy was just weird, but obviously he's weird as but yeah, this just kind of goes over where they're at today. So let's check it out.
This video will cover exactly what happened to the 6 most notable creeps from Hansen vs. Predator, and we're going to begin by talking about the math tutor Mike Manzi, who's had his life pretty much ruined as a result of the I'm Chris Hansen, No You're Not episode. After arriving at the Sting house, Mike bumped into Chris immediately. Is that how it happened? To make the excuse that he was simply making sure that the 13-year-old girl was safe inside her house.
Oh,
After desperately attempting to leave, Mike was arrested, taken back to the police station, and interrogated for approximately 35 minutes. After which the episode ends with the explanation that because Mike's discussion was pretty clean prior to the meetup, he was only sentenced to 3 years probation, meaning that he avoided any time in prison and wasn't registered on any unsavory lists. However, this isn't to say that Mike's life has been easy ever since the episode went live. In late 2021, a conversation was leaked with one of the show's editors who explained that the head of security, Ron Knight, was actually Mike Manzi's uncle, and that there is a part that never aired where Manzi is insisting tonight to let him go because he's known Manzi since birth. This is apparently why Manzi made such an effort to convince the crew to let him leave peacefully, yet his uncle told Manzi the best thing he could do is go through the garage and remain silent, which Manzi obviously didn't do. As a result,
that's insane, dude. His own uncle? He got busted in front of his own uncle. Oh my god. That's insane.
Of the episode, Mike now hates his uncle, which has more than likely led to the decline of Manzi's other family relationships. However, the most interesting thing revealed in the message exchange was that Manzi was an avid watcher of TCAP back in the day, which explains why he recognized Chris Hansen immediately. Mike has since been found on a felony dating site, as well as on Facebook under a different name, where a Reddit user was able to get this picture, as well as apparently have a conversation with Mike, who stated that he gets recognized very often, and that Mike actually seems like a very chilled out dude. On Chris Hansen's podcast, Chris explained that Mike is no longer working in education.
As far as we know, he is not tutoring or teaching anywhere. He lives with his parents.
Which would explain 2 recently surfaced photos of Mike working in a retail job, representing a pretty significant fall since tutoring for some of Connecticut's wealthiest families. However, Mike still got off lightly in comparison to John Dupee, who, as a result of his appearance on the show, has now become homeless. John waltzed into the Sting house without saying a word, and was so creepy that simply standing next to him was enough to terrify the decoy.
This guy, I remember this guy. This guy was creepy as shit. You can even see it here. Oh my god, he's got those like little creepy lips, dude. It is so creepy. Let's watch.
Yet she apparently had nothing to worry about, as he stated that he was only there to watch the football. After revealing that John was simultaneously,
I think he cried when he got caught too.
Talking to more than one minor, he was arrested, interrogated, and given a notice to appear in court, where he'd be trolled and heckled by the attendees as he pleaded guilty.
And the judge actually in the case had to order the crowd to be quiet, to be orderly, because they had figured out who he was and what he was being accused of, what he was pleading guilty to.
John Dupee was given an 8-year prison sentence beginning in August 2016, although this certainly isn't where the story ends. Only 4 months into his prison term, John's brother and sister were both killed in a car accident, which happened on the very same street where the Sting house was located, and in case losing both of his siblings wasn't bad enough, there are unconfirmed anecdotes that John was also disowned by his parents after the episode went live. He was released from prison on the 24th of July 2018, serving just 2 years out of his 8-year sentence, yet after being released, John was forced to register on a public offender list, which displayed his address as a Connecticut homeless shelter. After 3 years in the shelter, John was able to move into a group house, although in October 2021, only 2 months after moving out of the homeless shelter, John violated his probation in an unspecified way and was sent back to prison for another year and 2 months. Since his release in December 2022, John has been residing in a shelter for recovering addicts, although John Dupee isn't the only person on this list who's been back to...
Some of y'all are gonna get mad at me right now, but I am human and I do feel bad that both his brother and sister died. Just because it's a sad thing. But yes, I do agree he deserved what happened to him. He actually got off really easy. You sentenced to 8 years in prison. He only did 2. Granted, those were probably the 2 worst years of the guy's life, but yeah, holy shit. All right, let's listen to Joshua Colin here.
Stating that his biggest nightmare was ending up on a Chris Hansen episode. After Josh comes out of the bathroom, Chris is already there waiting for him.
That's awkward.
You know who I am.
Yes.
And as a result, Josh is unbelievably honest, laying out his intentions immediately. After being taken back to the station, he'd incredibly admit that this wasn't the first time that he'd met up with someone underage, which eventually helped the court to secure a 7-year prison sentence. After the sting happened, but before Josh went to prison, he was still working as a plumber and would admit to a co-worker that he was very remorseful and would happily take back his crazy Russian ex, then go back to that house with Chris Hansen. On his really bad days, he would talk about how he doesn't want to die alone and that he knows that he'll never have a semblance of a normal life again. Josh was sent to prison a few months later in early 2016 and would serve 3 years out of his 7-year sentence. However, this wouldn't be the last time that Josh ended up behind bars.
Come on,
in
man.
September 2020, approximately 1 year after being released from his first prison stint, a post was made to the TCAP forum stating, "Joshua Clone was convicted yesterday after spending a few months in prison for a probation violation. 4 years jail, execution suspended after 6 months, probation 9 years. This guy will never learn." Josh's second prison term came to an end in March 2021, after which his former co-worker and friend took to Reddit to explain the reason for the sentence. He contacted me after he got out of prison for a second time, letting me know that he'd been framed. Apparently he wasn't allowed to have any pictures of any children on his phone. His sister shared a picture of his niece in a chat that he was in, and he got locked up for it, his explanation. Interestingly, if you now search Josh's name on an inmate search engine, it states that Joshua Clone is or was recently an inmate currently at the Connecticut Department of Corrections, CTDOC, located in Wethersford, CT, leading many to believe that Josh is now back in prison for a third time. But what happened to the wealthy accountant who Chris recognized from...
So he got out of prison. He was in a group chat. If this is true, that seems kind of f***ed. So someone could just send you a picture. Hey, here's your granddaughter. You haven't seen her in a bit. No, don't send that. Like, you know, like, what do you like? Like at that point, just get a phone that doesn't have. No, sorry, I can't have pictures on this phone. It's from 1995. It's a giant like brick. Like, I don't know what you do. I mean, yeah, dude, he's f***ed. Oh boy, this is dark. Joshua Colin back in jail. You know, with a last name like this in prison for what he did, he's not having a good time. Just saying.
Third time. But what happened to the wealthy accountant who Chris recognized from the train? His name was Charles Lawrence, and after walking into the Sting house, the following exchange occurred.
No, Chris. What are you doing?
But this is the first time I've caught anyone who I know.
After which Charles was arrested and
knew
taken
him?
back to the station for an interview. Throughout the interrogation, Charles made the hilarious claim that because of his poor eyesight, he read the decoy's age as 18 instead of 13.
Every time he was 18, my eye got scratched and my glasses were upstairs. I'm looking at it, but he said 18. I swear to God, I would never, ever in my entire life meet a 13-year-old.
However, the judge wasn't dumb enough to buy.
To be fair, at this age, if you're pursuing an 18-year-old, I automatically think you're a p***. Like, alright, if you're watching this, and you're a man over the age of 30, and you're like trying to get with a girl who's 18, like you're just trying to like skirt as close as you can to not breaking the law. Like, it's just, they probably would have charged them either way if the phone had pics and that number, whether a phone can receive the pics or not. I have no idea. It's not like he solicited it. But I have a feeling when you get out of prison and you're one of these guys, whatever they can get you with, you're going back to prison. Like if you jaywalk, going back to prison. If you break curfew by like a second, you're going back to prison. Like they just want to get you back in prison. They hate you. Yeah, this guy, oh, I thought she was 18. Dude, you're like 40. 50 even. Maybe 60. I don't know. This guy's old. What are you looking for 18-year-olds? Dude, like settle down with like a fucking 30-year-old or some shit. Jeez. Even that's cutting it close.
However, the judge wasn't dumb enough to buy this excuse, who sentenced Lawrence to 2 years in prison, which he'd served between June 2016 and June 2018. Whilst in prison, the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants, under which Lawrence was employed, confirmed that Mr. Lawrence's AICPA membership was terminated effective May 25th, 2017 because of a final judgment of conviction for a crime punishable by imprisonment for more than 1 year. Chris also mentioned that Charles had a second job as a commercial real estate agent, and after finding Charles's LinkedIn, it states that he's the president of a company called Lawrence Real Estate Enterprises Inc., which is still active today and lists Charles as the company's CEO. However, Chris did mention on his podcast that Charles had some issues with keeping his license.
I'm not clear as to whether or not he's still involved in commercial real estate. There was an issue with his license after his conviction, after he pleaded guilty.
Although even if he was able to, it's unlikely that Charles would get much work these days given his reputation. In May 2021, a post was made to Reddit explaining that they saw Charles Lawrence living in an over 55s complex, which has been confirmed as true after looking up the address listed on his public offender registry. This page also shows the most recent photo of him taken in mid-2018, exhausting all of the information that we have on Charles Lawrence. However, we've got plenty of dirt on the now infamous Stephen Buchanan, who gained notoriety for showing up to the Sting house with duct tape, a camera, and various weapons in his car.
What? Hold on, I want to hear that again. This guy was planning to do some really bad.
However, we've got plenty of dirt on the now infamous Stephen Buchanan, who gained notoriety for showing up to the Sting house with duct tape, a camera, and various weapons in his car. This was extra terrifying as after arriving at the house, he refused to enter and rather tried to coax the decoy into getting into his vehicle.
You want to come in?
I need to know, what kind of vehicle was it? Was it a van? Even worse, was it a Prius? I need to know.
Can you just like come in and we can chat for a little bit? What do you want to do?
I'll show you around first. You got some food if you want. You want to show you around?
Can we watch a movie?
What about going to the movies?
After being confronted by Chris, Buchanan tries to blame his depravity on the PTSD he got during his military time in Iraq.
Just his teeth. He has like those beaver teeth and stuff. You can't see it right now. Yeah, there you go. Anyways, back to the video.
Time in Iraq, although despite this impediment, Buchanan still served 3 years in prison, after which fans of the show began to notice that the story he shared with Chris wasn't entirely accurate. A user by the name of Bud1985 took to Reddit in a post reading, "Stephen Buchanan. This took me a good hour of searching through old pics from Iraq, but I finally found it. I served with this turd." Bud continued in the comments by stating, "When he was active duty, he was a tank mechanic. And how do I know this? He was my tanks mechanic. He would do maintenance on it in the motor pool every Monday. He never went on a single mission. He never seen a minute of combat. He may have been through some mortar fire, but that's it. It pissed me off so bad when I heard him blame it on PTSD."
Alright. So I agree with the person saying this, but you can still have PTSD from stuff that happens, like, not outside the wire, right? You can have PTSD from, like, a car accident. You can have PTSD from, like, stuff that's not war related, you know? Alright, back to the video.
The most recent photo of Stephen Buchanan comes from July 2022, which accompanies a further update from Chris Hansen's podcast and is blame it on PTSD. The most recent photo of Stephen...
Okay, this is more or less what you expect a sex offender to look like.
Buchanan comes from July 2022, which accompanies a further update from Chris Hansen's podcast.
And as far as we can tell, he still lives in Connecticut with his parents. And he's working, driving a large truck.
Also explaining that he was able to have a conversation with Stephen's father.
I called the number we had for Stephen Buchanan, and a man picked up, and it actually sounded a little bit like Stephen Buchanan. And I asked for Stephen. Right away, the man said, "Is this Chris Hansen?" And I said, "Yes, it is. This is why you're calling." I said, "I'm calling for Stephen Buchanan." And the father had the tone of a man exasperated with having to deal with the circumstances around his son. He told me that Stephen has moved on with his life and essentially that he wants to only look forward, and then the senior Buchanan asked that I never call the number again.
But while Stephen has done a pretty good job of moving on with his life, this has been significantly more difficult for Jeff Sokol, who became arguably the most notable predator in Chris Hansen history.
This guy is like, anytime I see a thumbnail of a Chris Hansen video, it's always this guy. Like, it's the pizza guy. Like, compared to some of the other predators, this guy wasn't even like that extreme of an outlier. But anytime, I don't know, for whatever reason, it's because he brings a pizza, I guess. I don't know. It is so weird that they just fixated on this guy. This guy is the one that's gonna get 57 million views, you know. Like, I've seen some other guys, like that one giant fat trucker guy we saw. That guy was like the creepiest one I think I've seen. Or the guy who kept going like, "Oh, I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest. I'm honest. I'm being honest here." That guy was so f***ing annoying. Or the Lauren Armstrong guy who just immediately broke down and started crying. Those are the more notable ones. This guy, I don't know why he's as famous as he is. Let's watch.
The most notable predator in Chris Hansen history after bringing a pepperoni pizza to the Fairfield Stinghouse. Yep. The iconic episode became etched in YouTube history as Jeff seemed so relaxed about the confrontation that he was only able to focus on his dinner.
I want to know a little bit more about you first. Can I eat first?
After Jeff spent 16 minutes demolishing his pizza, he'd offer Chris a slice on the way out.
You can take your pizza if you like.
You want a slice?
I'm good, thank you.
And even after being taken back to the station, Jeff maintained the attitude that he hadn't done anything wrong.
Dude's been eating a lot of pizza. Just saying. You can tell right here.
According to a source who was at the station with him.
He kept his cool. He was pretty confident that he was going to be able to get out of this. Be able to get a good lawyer and to really take care of his case.
While Jeff seemed confident that he wouldn't receive any charges, this didn't alter his reality, as after going through 3 different lawyers, he'd be sentenced to 2.5 years in prison beginning on the 27th of May 2017. Whilst locked up, the Jeff Sokol episode became so popular that fans of the show tracked down the restaurant from which the pizza had been ordered and began to visit the restaurant asking for the exact same pizza that Jeff had gotten. The restaurant has since had hundreds of positive reviews, many of which subtly referencing the Jeff Sokol.
These people are such assholes.
Incident, and according to an email sent to us by a fan, the restaurant had to eventually ask people to stop asking for the Sokol special, although there doesn't actually seem to be any evidence for this claim. By the time Jeff was released from prison in June 2019, his appearance on the show had racked up a view count in the tens of millions, leading Jeff to try and change his name legally to Sonny Derek Porter.
Sokol actually went to court and petitioned to change his name to Sonny Derek Porter.
A few years ago, I was arrested as a part of a sting operation trying to meet a girl who was underage. The sting was part of a nationally syndicated TV show, Crime Watch Daily, Hansen vs. Predator. This episode is now available online, along with many other troll videos and nasty comments from fans of the show. In the aftermath, I've experienced humiliation, harassment, and embarrassment. One could argue that this was justified, but I've surely lived with much remorse since the arrest. Since my current name will always be linked via a simple internet search, I'm requesting authorization to change my name. I'm working hard to be a better person overall, and making a sincere effort to treat everyone with respect. I hope to meet new friends and acquaintances and wish not to be judged based on one gigantic mistake I made a few years ago. I hope to be judged for the person I really am, the person I am today. More than anything, I would like a second chance at a happy and safe life. However, the name change was eventually rejected, which only led to more trolling. It was then discovered that Jeff had been forced to sell his apartment, and according to this Reddit comment, which isn't the best ever.
How do you sell an apartment? Hundreds of those looking to order Jeff's Pizza are normal. What the f are those bigger creeps in this guy? It is kind of weird that it became a thing like that.
evidence, Jeff moved in with his parents in blank. It seems like he comes from a pretty affluent family, so he probably just mooches from his parents and stays low-key.
I mean, what else do you do?
The most recent photo of him comes from early 2021, which unfortunately marks the final piece of information we have on Jeff Sokol, because despite being one of the show's most notable people, he certainly kept one of the lowest profiles.
Okay. Well, so there was justice served. They didn't just let him go. Like, I think the lowest prison sentence I saw there was still 2 years. So, anyways, that's gonna do it for today's video, everyone. If you liked the video, make sure you like and subscribe below. It helps me out a lot. If you didn't like the video, like and subscribe anyways, and leave a comment telling me why you fucking hated it. Now that I'm finally settled into my new house, I'm gonna try to upload once or twice a week. We'll see how it goes. If you want to join us live, just click the link below, and you can join us at my Twitch channel where I stream every Sunday starting around 5 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time and going until whenever I get through all the videos. Anyways, that's gonna do it for today, everybody. Hope you have an amazing week. I'll see you at the next video. Peace out, everyone. Bye.